The following segment is sponsored by M&M-Income-Tax-Service.
Tax laws are changing, and you'll want to make sure your tax preparer is on top of all the new updates to the IRS tax code. To help us make sense of it all, we have Joe Mahaffey here from M&M-Income-Tax-Service. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Margaret, and thank you for having us on today.
Absolutely. First question, we know Congress passed new legislation on March 12th with an additional round of stimulus and more tax changes right in the middle of tax season. So how does that impact the taxpayer with mid-season tax changes?
Margaret, it's been a challenge to say the least. The IRS and the tax software companies had to update their systems. The huge change for most taxpayers is the first $10,200 of unemployment received in 2020 is actually not taxable. And as you said, this is actually a mid-season change. Okay, we've never seen Congress make mid-season changes that impacted the current tax season. Over 120 million taxpayers have already filed their tax return before this change was made by Congress, so it creates confusion for the taxpayer, especially those taxpayers who received unemployment. Taxpayers are asking, do I need to file an amended tax return? In other words, fix it, or is the IRS going to fix it for me? The IRS has stated, do not amend any returns filed if you are amending just to claim the $10,200 unemployment exclusion. Now, that does not state whether the IRS is going to actually fix it or not. The official IRS position is buried in the fine print. They're going to fix those returns. Fixing them, however, is not a high priority for the IRS right now. The IRS is still trying to get out the stimulus payments, the 2020 tax refunds, and still trying to catch up on 2019 tax returns.
Wow. So when and if the IRS fixes the $10,200 unemployment exclusion, should all taxpayers with unemployment who filed prior to the tax change expect an additional refund?
Margaret, that's a great question, and it really depends. For some taxpayers, yes, and for other taxpayers, no. It depends on if the taxpayer had taxable income. The unemployment exclusion actually reduces taxable income. If they have taxable income, they should expect to receive an additional payment. If there's no taxable income, they should not expect to receive an additional payment. Unfortunately, a lot of taxpayers are going to fall into this no taxable income category. So a lot of taxpayers are actually going to expect an additional payment and simply not receive it because they don't qualify. And it's really more complicated than how I just stated it. It really revolves around something we call the tax formula. And the relevant pieces of the tax formula can be different for each taxpayer.
Absolutely. Well, how about taxpayers who still have not filed their tax return for this year? How should they handle this unemployment exclusion tax change on their tax return?
Margaret, that's an excellent point. Taxpayers who have not filed should make sure that their tax software or their tax preparer is up to date with all the latest tax changes. The IRS has updated their tax software, so now we can actually file a tax return using something called an unemployment exclusion worksheet. That allows for the latest tax change or allows for the first $10,200 unemployment not to be taxed on this year's tax return.
All right. And Joe, we haven't even gotten into the latest round of stimulus. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I can tell you it pays to file your tax return timely and to have your refund directly deposited. To simplify this, there are 3 distributions from the latest stimulus round. Best we can determine, the first distribution came out March 15th for 120 million taxpayers who used direct deposit and had already filed their 2020 tax return. The second distribution came out on March the 24th for about 50 million taxpayers who used direct deposit and filed their 2019 tax return, but had still not filed their 2020 yet. And then the third distribution is for taxpayers whom the IRS does not have direct deposit information. The IRS is planning on mailing these stimulus payments. However, the IRS can only process 7.5 million pieces of mail per week. So it could take another 3 to 4 weeks for these taxpayers to actually receive their payment.
Well, let's talk about how you're doing business then at M&M Tax. I know you have expanded your services for the health and safety of your clients during this pandemic, right?
Yes, and in addition to our traditional face-to-face service, we're now offering drop-off service, curbside service, and virtual service. Also at our locations, all employees are wearing masks. We have sneeze guards at the desk. Each location is sanitized and disinfected. Plus, we are even cleaning the air. We have done a lot to protect our clients and our employees.
All right. Well, we know we can count on you to help us navigate through all these changes. M&M Tax Service has 25 locations in the upstate. People can find you online at mmtax.com or call the number on screen now. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Margaret.